changing anything the way I like. On the replay, wish I could get a replay. Don't mean to hold ya, but I wanna do over. Gas up the ship, shoot me a text and let me know when it is time. I wanna get off, I wanna get off. 1 star, would not recommend that we go far from here. I wanna get off, I wanna get off.
A music podcast for the culture. WyldeThoughts.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of WyldeThoughts. This is a special election episode. So many of you have asked me to do a special election episode, and we have V. Ray, but I am super honored and super happy to have Dr. Kaya Nyambi Shivers with us. I do a lot of work with her at Arc Republic. She's killing it with her own company. Arc Republic has reporters, they have writers, they have correspondents. She's really doing her thing, trying to build Black media for Black people, about Black people, and by Black people. And they do all of the news, though, not just Black news. They do all of the news. So I'm happy to have you guys here. Let's get into what it's feeling like, what this election is feeling like. Y'all nervous yet?
It's not comfortable for sure. But you know, the jury's still out, so I mean, all you can do is wait and see what the reports are, man. But I'm really surprised at how many red states I see that turn red regardless of the margin. And so yeah,
well, the crazy thing is I know the map looks bad, but Middle America, that's usually what the map looks like.
Yeah, and the South. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Middle America and the South looks like what the map looks like. As you can see, the ones you need to pay attention to are these. You need to pay attention to Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Those are the three that are going to determine this race. Those are the three that's going to determine it. So, we're going to have to pay attention to those in order to get a real feel for what the election is actually doing. Like I said, I was telling Kaya before we came on, I said, I'm not going to get nervous until unless when or if she loses Pennsylvania, then I would be nervous. Like Pennsylvania is a big one that she needs because Middle America is red all of the time, which is crazy to me. That's the given is like all of those, you know what I'm saying, red states. Because he's at 230 already. And you know what he's going to do? Probably when he gets to around 240, he's going to declare victory. He's going to come out and declare victory. So after the rest of them, he could say they cheated, even though they're still counting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what he did last time.
It's, I had an interesting experience. I live in Philly, and I went to vote today, and I registered late, but on time, within the time frame. And I never received anything from the elections office about, my information, never received an email or anything. But I was kind of expecting it, especially because there's been such an uptick in voter registration in the state. So I went to the polling office because, you can go online and see where your polling station is. I said polling office. When I went, my name wasn't on the list. And so I requested what's called a provisional ballot. And I was denied a provisional ballot. A provisional ballot is a ballot that you are supposed to be given when your name is not on the list and you believe that you are registered.
Yes.
This ballot goes into a ballot box, and then the ballot box is sent to officials, and then they count it by hand and they verify if you're legitimate or not. Well, the person in charge told me that I couldn't get on it because I wasn't registered. And I was like, I don't think that's how it goes.
Right.
And she said, no, that's how it is. And I said, okay. So I walked out and I went to my car. I got my phone and got all of my information and came back and told her and pointed out, this is what a provisional ballot is for. When your name is not on the list. And this is actually, no voter should be turned away. Every person has the right to cast a vote.
Wow.
And that's not for you to decide. And so she still was holding her ground. And I said, you are violating the such and such act. and I will report you in this precinct. And there's a poll watcher outside across the street, and I will tell them exactly what you're doing. Then she got scared, right? Then she started blabbing, blabbing, blabbing. And she said, well, I don't know if I could let you vote because I've turned away already a lot of voters whose names
Oh,
weren't registered.
oh wow.
Yes.
Oh wow.
And I said, well, it ain't got nothing to do with me. I want my provisional ballot. And so I got my ballot. And then she said she had never done a provisional ballot anymore, but you're trained to know about provisional ballots. So she made all these calls and everything like that. And so I had to verify that I was a resident in the area in order to have a provisional ballot. I don't know what the thing is in terms of how one is given a provisional ballot, but with that being said, when she said that a lot of voters and a lot of new voters were turned around because so many people registered in October in the state of Pennsylvania, I'm wondering what that outcome is going to be and if people know that. So that's going to be interesting for me, Yeah. So I just wanted to, relay that information because I know she's not the only precinct that was done.
Oh wow. That's crazy. And I know a lot of that is probably going on, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
and like V Ray was talking about earlier, how they purged a bunch of names from a lot of states. They was purging names from the voter ranks where you couldn't even, they was making all these obscure rules to take your name off the voter ranks.
Right. So, we might also just kind of be seeing the work that has been done since Obama in terms of how do you disenfranchise blocks of voters.
Absolutely.
So
I think they've been chipping away at it a little bit at a time, a little here, just like the affirmative action and, you know what I'm saying, the equal employment rights stuff. They just chip away at it until the body of work ends up culminates in what we're seeing now.
Right. And then you have a Supreme Court, that very much is a Project 25-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they and you try not to be alarmist, but all the things y'all saying, like how it all is adding up to like basically the crumble of the little democracy we had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like putting the judges in place, right? Putting the voter, because he was changing the election officials in places too, like putting certain Republican election officials to do certain things.
The
Gerrymandering, pulling all these lawsuits to try to stop people from being able to vote. Like all of this stuff has been leading up to today, which is, like you said, it's going to be interesting to see how it really plays out as the night goes on. But I mean, this race is really going to determine. It's going to come down to Philly, Milwaukee, and Detroit. Like I said. So
well, I mean, if it gets pulled, if it gets, if Harris is on the what resources need to come to Philly, and I mean they need to come to Philly fast.
Right.
And all these places,
they doing
Detroit,
that.
all of these places, Detroit, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia. So we shall see. You think Georgia? You think the Democrats are going to take Georgia?
I don't know. I think that's a legit toss-up. Right now, Georgia is 91% reporting, and it's 2,000,005 to 2,000,004. Like, it's literally like, I think this is probably going to be the most razor-thin race we've ever seen.
Keep in mind too that they established some law where they can literally stop counting at some point. I forgot what it is, but there was a case that I think it was decided today or yesterday, establishing a cutoff time for when they could stop counting votes. Right. So I don't know if that means they don't have to count everything that's turned in or not, but there was something. I didn't catch the details. I just caught the headline. I was working today, but it was related to them being legally able to stop counting at some at some wall clock time versus when all
And that's in Georgia?
yeah.
Mm.
Let me see if I can find that because that was just one of those alarmist headlines that comes across your feed to make you click on something. So
Mm-hmm.
let me see what that ruling was. And then the other shit like closing the polling stations in the black areas and shit like that. Oh
Yeah.
I posted something on Facebook. Somebody, I think NBC or someone, covered how they were they closed about 20% of the polling places down south. Let me find that if any cares. Let's see my profiles here.
I mean, you asked while V-Ray is looking, you asked, I think the first question was like, how do you feel like, excuse my red eyes, it's 11:42 over here. I've been up in these streets. Like, what are your sentiments? For me, well, one, I'm a reporter and I don't like to fully give all of my political views publicly. I surely do give them privately, as Dane knows. But what I can say, I've been saying this publicly or in pseudo private spaces, is that what I heard in the channels last year was we all just kind of needed to prepare for whoever wins in the elections, because there's just a lot of it's going to be, it's going to be rocky, whatever that is. So for me, I try to prepare myself what the outcome is. With that being said, I don't think you never could be fully prepared for things that might happen. I mean, like, today I was thrown off, not thrown off. I was thrown off in terms of going into the place, and the person who's the head poll worker, didn't know, and also, and the person, it was kids playing football in the precinct. Have you heard? It was
What?
the poll worker had a baby, the head one, rocking a baby in a stroller. These
Wow.
white people now. I'm telling you, Philly's an interesting beast. So look at this. So here we go.
Oh,
That was a jump.
yeah. What came in? Was that Virginia?
Oregon and Washington, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, this is down to the wire and through
I
the
told you.
fire, baby.
I told you this is gonna be, because most of her stuff is gonna come in from the West Coast feed too. Like a lot of her electorals coming from the West Coast, so they were gonna be reported late. Trump had a huge lead on Biden last time, remember? And then I think around 2-3 in the morning, I think people forgot Trump was up, and then 2-3 in the morning, like I said, when Pennsylvania, Georgia, not all of Atlanta, like when Philly, Georgia, Detroit, and Milwaukee came in. When those four came in, that changed the whole race. So I'm not saying it specifically won't happen again this time, but it feels like,
possibility.
Feel like a possibility.
Okay.
Why do you think Philly's reporting so late? I mean, Pennsylvania.
I don't. You know what they did last time? They always do.
Really?
Well, with my experience, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, what I tell you, I was just like, this is some of the most unsophisticated voting I have experienced. And I voted in the elementary school when I was registered in California, because when I came back into the country, I had to vote in California because I didn't have an address. So I went and got my mama address, right? And I went to the little elementary, West Athens elementary, right there on 120th. and it was, small, but it was so organized. What I experienced today, I was absolutely floored. So I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm totally not surprised. And then there were, Philly is there's a lot of concentrated populations. I was looking at all the polls and things like that. So there were quite a few they have going on, and I'm pretty sure that I suspect that there were issues.
Can you tell me about what your voting machines were like, Kaya, out there?
I couldn't use a voting machine. I had to do a paper ballot.
Oh, right.
Provisional
right.
ballots are paper ballots. Yes, so I didn't even see what the machines looked like. But
Okay.
I can tell you that there were technical issues going on where I was, from what I saw. But it really made me reassess, like thinking about the future. In order for there to be, in my opinion, there needs to be a serious overhaul from the inside.
Yeah.
Serious overhaul.
Yeah.
I
Well,
wonder why Vegas ain't reported at all yet. Nevada.
yeah.
I wonder why. That's interesting.
Minnesota is only 51%. Okay.
Hey, so I posted a link in the private chat. I couldn't get to the public chat, but the link that I was talking about the
You want me to share one of them?
Georgia
Which one?
County. Yeah, but it wasn't the state of Georgia. Apparently, it was a county where like 3,400 voters gotten their mail-in ballots just a few days ago, have been extended time to get their ballots turned in since they just got them just a couple of days ago, and the court struck down the ruling giving them extra time to get their ballots in.
You know what? Yeah, now you said that, that's the same thing that happened in Bucks County, in Pennsylvania. People are going to be able to mail in up to the date. So maybe that's why Pennsylvania is like it is. I was at a talk last week, and one of the political guys in the talk said that they are preparing for up to a 10-week wait to see exactly who wins. So I'm like, wow, is this like all the way up to inauguration or something like that? So we don't know.
Yeah. Well, the spin they put on the election results being untrustworthy, they're probably out of an abundance of caution, as they say, trying to be seen, getting it right, and taking their time with it and stuff. But that's gonna cause rifts though, because already, the Trump supporters have gone around the country holding these seminars, telling people how to, giving people instructions on how to contest and interfere with the election. So they've all been trained. There's a lot of people that have been trained, and not to even mention these poll people and stuff like that. I'm not like saying it, like that's gonna weigh into the results of the election, but that's gonna weigh into the results of the election. You know what I mean? If the longer it takes, the more suspicious it's going to appear in the eyes of those people that can start filing lawsuits and doing shit to try to shut down counting and all that. So it's going to be interesting how this stuff plays out, because I think part of it is by design. The delays are by design in some instances, and it gives the people that want to contest the results, if they don't work out their way, fodder to approach it from that perspective. It's my personal opinions, but and that other thing that I posted in the private chat, that may be worth posting, but it's just a news segment by ABC, I think it was, where they went down into Georgia and talked to some of the disenfranchised voters that have gotten the voting booths, the polling stations taken out of their areas and stuff. About 20% of the polling stations in the predominantly black areas were shut down completely.
Kaya, Stephanie has a question. What does it mean to be considered a battleground state? Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll start it off and you could just finish. Hey, Stephanie, thank you for the good question. The battleground state is a state that could either, so you have states that heavily vote Democrat or heavily vote Republican. And so often in every election, you can assuredly know that pretty much like California and New York will vote majority Democrat. But then there are states that could either go Democrat or Republican. And those states usually are the states that often determine how the electoral votes are going to flow. And because it could either go either way, it's called a battleground state or a swing state. It can swing to the left or it can swing to the right. And so these are the states that we're talking about: the Pennsylvanias, the Michigan, the Wisconsins, the Georgias, et cetera, et cetera. So you could add to that.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much summed it up well. They call them swing states because those are the states that could swing the election either way. Those are the ones that could swing the election.
And that's why they campaign heavily in those states.
They spent the most money in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and then Trump thought he was done in North Carolina, so he had to go back and spend more money in North Carolina because first he thought he had it while Biden was running. He did, but then once Kamala ran, North Carolina became up for grabs. But it looked like he might get it by a narrow margin. Like I said, I'm looking at these numbers, and
what are the numbers in North Carolina? Is it over? Is it finished?
Let's go look at North Carolina. North Carolina. 90% reported, 16 votes, but it's at no, it still ain't over. It's like 200,000
in
that race. 200,000. South Carolina is
but has North Carolina already given their electoral votes?
No, North Carolina hasn't called yet.
Okay.
North Carolina hasn't called. Georgia hasn't called.
Okay.
Yeah. It's crazy because a lot of these that have called, some of them are still too close to call. So that's interesting. This whole election process is.
Well, I think, well, in speaking with Sharice Janae, the political analyst, just before I came on, well, no, two people down at NBC called. Okay, NBC reported that NC went for Donald Trump. Okay, thank you, Stephanie.
All right.
Well, there you go. There you go. Leading up to this, Dame, I always caution people and said, look, remember this Hillary election, Hillary Trump election, and how, it was supposed to be a slam dunk. And the polls were indicating and pointing to Hillary Clinton. And then on the night of the election, what happened. So be very wary of these voting polls.
I think it's great for you guys to explain the Electoral College for those that aren't really aware. Slavery, but
I'm gonna step off really quickly. I need to go and get some water. Excuse me.
So the Electoral College is basically, so you know how they say we're a democracy. We're not really truly a democracy. We're a republic democracy, right? So what that means is we're a democracy in the sense that we all vote, but we're a republic in the sense that we vote for our representatives to go cast our votes. All right. So voting for representatives to go cast your votes, the Electoral College represents those representatives. Now, the Electoral College, you may wonder, like, why do they have all these arbitrary numbers? And so, again, it was a lot of it. I was, being funny, but truly a lot of it is linked back to slavery and trying to make sure the states that had more slaves and more representatives, as in the census as people, had as much right as like the free states who probably didn't have slaves and had people, more people that could actually vote, because at the time a lot of slaves couldn't vote. So the Electoral College was supposed to be made to try to kind of even out all the representation of all the states. And I think it's very, very outdated. And I think at this point it should really be changed, because I think the last Republican president to actually win the popular vote was Bush's dad, if I'm not mistaken, like the first Bush. was the last. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last president, Republican president, to actually win the popular vote was Bush 1. If it wasn't Bush 1, I know it was Bush 2, but that shows you how long ago. And we still have Republican presidents since then, but they hadn't won the popular vote. So I think this election is probably going to be one of the highest turnouts of elections that we've ever seen as well. Like, we're already at almost 120 million voters counted. We almost at 120 million counted. I know last time it was a record for turnout. I wonder if this will be a record for turnout. So I hope that explanation helped, Wilbert. I hope that helped what you was looking for. That's the question for you. Yeah, like I said, y'all, it's gonna be a long night. This race is probably gonna be going until at least 4 a.m. before you can even tell what it's gonna look like. Just like it did with Biden. I remember everybody went to sleep thinking Biden had lost. Everybody went to sleep like Biden getting his ass whooped. He getting whooped on.
Yeah.
3, 4 a.m. Black folks saved the day when Detroit, Milwaukee, and Wisconsin, came in. So, we'll see, y'all. But we just wanted to get on here because a couple people asked to get on, do like a little live for us to all watch along together and answer some questions that you guys might have. So that's why we're on. Yes, I understand and agree. Thanks, bro. Just want to give some talking points for something that made absolutely. What did you guys think of the propositions today? How did you guys vote on some of those propositions that went out? I'm interested to hear from the audience what you guys voted on in regards to your local propositions and your local election. Tell me what you think. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what your thoughts were. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like, I think it's like almost 11 o'clock. No, it's almost midnight.
Yeah.
On the East Coast.
East
It's almost midnight. Yeah, so the East Coast is almost like, look at this. Like, Nevada hasn't even reported anything yet. That's a battleground state. Arizona only at 50%. And look how close it is. We're talking about 7,000 votes.
Yep.
Right? Like, so just to give you guys an idea of like how this race is going to be won on the margins. This race is going to be won on the margins. So y'all want to talk about a race where you feel like every vote counts? I think this is the one. Like, I feel like this is the one. Yeah, see, like, they called California for Kamala, but only 40% have reported. That's crazy. She's still up in Minnesota, so yeah, there's a few that haven't been called yet that she's up on. That's going to tighten this race up in a little bit. Damn, look how close this is. We're talking about Maine, right?
Yeah.
140,000, 127,000.
And only 32% reported, though. Damn, man. Like,
You see what I'm saying?
Maine?
But you see what I mean by when I say like literally on the margins?
Yeah.
So it's literally going to be on the margin. So I know some people are in panic mode, but I don't think it's panic mode time yet. Because a lot of these places that are blue haven't been called all the way yet.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that she got New Mexico.
Yeah.
Is New Mexico usually Democrat?
I don't know, but I don't think it's a high population. I think we have to factor in the universities, maybe even perhaps the border talk too.
Yeah. Okay, Wilbert. So the race to 270 means basically who can get to 270 first. Because a lot of times both candidates can get 270, right? So it's about who can get to So that's why a lot of people are sweating too, because Trump is at 230. But again, like I said, with caution, go back and look at this race at midnight with Biden and Trump. It was damn near identical. Damn near identical. He was even up in Georgia because we thought he had Georgia up until like 2, 3 in the morning. Like I remember refreshing my phone, like, whoa, what? Because I think he won Georgia by 11,000 votes. Ain't that the amount that Trump asked for? 11,120.
Yeah, some change, yeah.
So Georgia was literally won with 11,000 votes. So that's the amount we're talking about on the margins. Like that's the amount of how much this thing is razor thin. And people have been saying, like, you know, this whole time it's going to be a close race. It's going to be razor thin. But listen, it's more than razor thin. 209, what got called? 209 to 230? She was just at 205, right?
Hawaii.
Oh, okay. That's weird. Okay, so she got 209. Okay. So you see, like I said, you see how it's creeping up as the more democratic states are coming in. The reason he gets up so fast because you look at this block right here, middle America, in the South. These come in first.
Yeah.
Because those polls close first. All this closes first and it gets reported first. It's crazy. Like she's losing in Texas, but it's crazy that's even this close in Texas. That means the demographics are changing there.
So many people moved to Texas from everywhere else. That's one of those migratory states. When we lived down there, everybody in our neighborhood was from somewhere else. There were no Texans.
The demographics are definitely changing down there. Yeah. Texas used to be a full-blown blowout, like not even a chance, not even close.
Yeah.
Stephanie said I actually was aligned with what you were saying in the last show. I was stuck on the Superior Court judges. What I don't understand is why people who live in unincorporated parts are affected by the results of the city votes, but cannot vote on the city measures and officials. Shouldn't it be that if you are affected by it, you should be able to vote on it? Absolutely, Stephanie. I agree with you. Ron said only about 30 to 35 reporting for the California props, but Prop 6 prohibits slavery and involuntary servitude is a no so far, and so folks are okay with it. Oh, wow. Prop 6 is a no? That's crazy. Prop 32 raises minimum wage is also a no. What the hell are people voting against their own best interest? Well, we've had those conversations with people, and it's some weird logic behind people not wanting the minimum wage raise. Prop 36 increases penalties for certain thefts and drugs crimes is a yes. I think I was voting yes on that, and I think I ended up voting no because I know anytime they want to go for harder crime penalties, even if it's supposed to be a good fix, it's going to affect us adversely. Just because I feel like Gascon did an overcorrection with, dropping all of the laws where we got all these smash and grabs now, where we got all these people going to retail stealing. Like I think you could steal up to $950 without it being a felon, and like stealing up to $930 and walking out knowing they can get away with it. And then we had a lot of kids going in to like the Nike stores doing smash and grabs and stuff. And I think that was because Gascon did an overcorrection on retail theft and burglary. So I don't know how they're gonna fix that.
I think, I did a story. There's actually a couple of stories. Actually, it's what I've been following over here in Jersey, particularly in Newark, and the voter turnout. And so what I did is that I explored how the housing crisis in Newark directly impacts or correlates to the low voter turnout. And when I mean low voter turnout, the last mayoral election in Newark, only 9.8% of registered voters voted.
Oh, wow.
But what came out around this time was this study where it was most of this time was during the pandemic, how you had 4 corporations buy up 51% of single family housing in Newark for like 3 to 4 years. 4 corporations.
Oh, wow.
Right. And so essentially it turned sections that were significant or visible home owning populations into renters. But the overall story looks at how if you don't have stable housing, even if you are a renter and you've been renting, that still is considered housing where you're vulnerable to housing, because you
Right.
could be displaced. But there's a correlation between not having stable housing and how you participate in voting. And we all know that the housing crisis and the homelessness in California is off the rails, one, and two, it disproportionately, I know in LA, impacts Black communities. It's something like 30% of homeless folk, when I did this stat some years ago, were just specifically Black men, which in itself is extremely troubling. So when you don't have significant swaths of eligible voters or potential voters, then that causes the voter turnout to be affected. One. Two, you still got to look at the returned citizens and those trying to be eligible again to vote. That's also another factor that you have to look at too. So there's a lot of things at play in, you know, why these elections turn out the way that they do. I think people on the maybe on the surface level don't factor in.
Yeah, like you said, it's a lot of factors, a lot of things that we don't consider, haven't considered, especially when it comes to the disenfranchised and things that help to stop us vote, help to keep us to not want to vote, right? Because a lot of Trump's campaign was not even vote for me; it was don't vote.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? A lot of their campaign was just no, just don't vote. I ain't ask you to vote for me, just don't vote.
Yeah, I think Trump's strategy was, I'm going to look like I want to throw the election. It Trump's, if you want to call it a strategy, is to me very similar to the guy who likes a girl and expresses his admiration for her, and she ain't checking for him. But the day he turns around and don't check for her, right? And she want to vote.
Right.
He is that guy that doesn't pay that girl no mind, and she's doing every and anything in order to win his attention, because that's how he treats his voters, like a disinterested paramour. You know what I'm saying? He treats his voters like a side piece and a biscuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just, it just blew me. I was like, yo, the dude simulated fellatio.
And it didn't mean
And
it didn't move the needle at all.
it moved later, and then, you know, people were laughing. I was like, yo, I read a stat.
Yeah.
Would be owned by corporations, exactly.
Yeah, let me read Ron's
Follow the widows and rent them out if you must move. Take this low income. So it's really interesting. Ron, you posted that. I have a homeboy that lives up the street from my mom, who inherited his father's house, but he doesn't have the money to keep the house. The realities are several factors. Is that I want to say in California, the inheritance taxes have changed. So before, if you inherited a house, something like you had to pay like $1,500. Now it's something like $15,000. So, you know, this person is and the house was underwater too at the same time. So a lot of it is not the fact that people don't want to keep it, it's that people cannot keep it because of the changing inheritance laws, the taxes that are way higher than when their parents bought the homes. So these are all parts of gentrification that a lot of people don't understand, how these things are, as V-Ray said, over time are just kind of quietly tweaked, you know, over time. And then, you know, it's sitting in your face and slapping you.
I was about to say that very thing, Ron, that a living trust is the way to go, because you avoid those taxes by having the property in a trust. and that's one way that Black people need to start structuring their finances, and not kicking the can down the road and stuff like that, because it matters when the property changes hands. You can have all the property in the family you want, but if it's not protected, that happens. My family lost my grandmother's house that same way by taxes. So we've already set up a trust for our home, the home that we own, so my son won't have that problem when the time comes. Excuse me.
Yeah, I know that there are quite a few people that are definitely using that model.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think we also have to be hyper aware that when we understand what the rule is, they change the game
every damn time.
every time.
Every damn time.
Like we doing a chop in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's very true. But at least it lays the groundwork. You know what I mean? For there to be some kind of maneuverability. But I mean, say if something happened to me today, my son is 23. He ain't got the wherewithal to, you know what I'm saying, to navigate trying to pay the taxes on that house. And in Texas, them damn taxes are high as shit. They higher in Texas than they are here in California, even though the properties are worth more in California. So, you know, it's something. It beats having it bought out by a corporation and all that stuff like that. That lump sum money looks good, but having that kind of family asset that can be handed down, you know, is invaluable in Black family, in any family, but especially Black families.
Yeah, and Ron, specifically to the my friend's situation, he actually, how I found out about it is that he did a private call and called everybody he possibly could and said, look, I would like to keep this, Black owned. So I was like, oh, okay, well, okay, I'm interested. And he said, well, it's 700 and some odd thousand. $700,000.
Yeah.
Shit. You know what I mean? It ain't happening, Captain. They're like this stuff is so ballooned, it's ridiculous.
Oh, somebody else reported it, huh? One electoral vote. Damn.
Stop shooting that little shit.
Tupelo, Mississippi. Exactly. That is depressing to hear that pretty much no matter what you dream and plan for your life, the government's going to find a way to punch you just when you think you're hitting the finish line. They move the goalpost. Yeah, I think the key to that, though, and I know it's easier said than done, but to stay informed on what the hell those rules are. I mean, if you got to have I don't know, an executor. I don't know what the term for it is, but somebody that keeps up on that and advises you in that capacity and shit. I mean, there's ways around it because white people do it all the time. You know what I'm saying? So there's secrets to keeping your shit. You just got to know. You just got to know what buttons to push to do it.
Yeah. Like we all know people who inherited grandmama house. The grandkids live in it for a little while. Don't keep shit up. Don't pay the bills. Don't pay the property taxes.
Lose the house.
The story is old as time. They lose the house. You know, and that is the last place where you can get wealth. You know what I mean? Like your grandparents literally worked their whole lives to leave y'all some wealth, and they squander it in a matter of 6 to 12 months. But that's back to what you said, Ray. A lot of these young people don't even have the wherewithal to understand how to pay bills, or even if I'm paying the mortgage, I have somebody, I got to make sure I pay the property taxes. I've seen so many people lose houses over property taxes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's also a nod toward teaching your kids some type of financial literacy. You know what I mean? To prep them for these types of situations.
When it comes to inheritance, I totally agree. They do the same thing with businesses too. Yeah, like Mark Cuban, who used to own the Dallas Mavericks. He's already a billionaire, but they asked him. He sold his majority stake in the Mavericks. He still owns some of it, so he's gonna be rich forever either way. But they asked him why did he sell it. He said because when you have a business like that, especially like a basketball team, it's a family-owned business. He was like, my kids probably don't want to do this. He was like, why would I even put them in that position? I don't think I want my kids to be able to be themselves. So I'd rather sell the team than try to force my kids to, come run the mom and pop shop with me.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens a lot of times. It's like, my kids don't want to do this. My kids don't want this. Even if this is what I work for, I wanted to work to leave this, leave them with this. And nah, it don't matter a lot of times.
Yeah.
All right. Trump is still up in Wisconsin. Still razor thin in Michigan, razor thin in Pennsylvania. This is crazy. Look how close it got in Georgia that fast.
Wow.
Yo, this is crazy. Maine, what the hell y'all doing?
No, man, they at the
Man, piss me
casino
off.
right
They
now.
still at 35.
Niggas ain't even at home.
Like, Maine just stopped counting. They're like, we'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, I visited Maine for the first time like 2 months ago, and I was like, I understand why Maine is slow.
Yeah. The NBA is changing as well. Like most sports corporations are doing the same gentrification. So if you don't have venture capital money, you will eventually have to concede to the corpse. Mark's getting out. He said that too. Ron, he said, I'm a tech guy. I was a tech guy who got into the NBA. He said now a lot of the new NBA owners are coming in. They're NBA owners and huge real estate developers who are basically using their teams to help them develop huge real estate projects, like Ballmer doing the stadium in Inglewood. And, you know what I mean? So they're using their money. Is not really the basketball team is not a front, but it's kind of like a reason just to get more property in the area of the cities at the end. He's like, I'm not on that. So, yep, that's what it was on. Club Shay Shay. I hate saying Club Shay Shay. Goddamn it. It sounds so
no
sad.
comment.
It became even harder to say after the green tracksuit photos. Like,
Yeah, I'm about to say
that's
pairs with a little
exactly
poom,
that's
poom.
exactly Shay Shay. Like
Standing like a baby mama
Yeah.
Damn,
with that knee bent back.
And the purse slung, the strap
Standing like a
slung
baby
across
mama
the
that could fight.
Yeah, you know, he just took his earrings off and dumped Vaseline in his face and shit.
Say what you were saying.
Yeah.
Say what you were saying. What was you saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. Ooh, y'all grown for me.
I'm sorry. Let me get back to the.
Yeah, no, but I wanted to
recording.
kind of add like a little 3 cents to understanding, particularly land ownership, home ownership, and business ownership. So I'll tell you just a little small segment of me personally is the description behind the picture of Dr. Dre that I actually used to show when he was being they called it literally. Everybody know Dr. Dre was about that life. Say what you were saying. Okay. You had 2 hip surgeries and see how you stand. Oh, my dad had 3 back surgeries. It ain't don't come nothing close to that, sir.
Still don't sound like
Shay Shay.
Hip surgery. Is that what the kids are calling it these days?
Is that what you call it? Back blown out? Is that what it is? I got hip surgery. Leroy did it. Okay.
Yeah.
Leroy scalpel. But Ooh, but my grandmother died in 2016. She lived in Louisiana her life. Her last 13 years, she lived with my mom in Los Angeles. But she had told this story about how her father had been incarcerated for defending himself against a white man. And after she died, we found out that it wasn't just, and subsequently he went to trial, but he was acquitted. And he left. He had to leave Louisiana, and he lived in Houston or the Houston area for some time. And then he came back to return to Louisiana, not to live, but to bring his family to Texas. And like several days after, his body parts were found on the train tracks of St. Martinville, Louisiana. So, but what I found out is that he was actually the first Black man in the state of Louisiana to be acquitted for killing a white man.
Really?
And also what I found out, and his case was actually a case that was used for many years after when Black men faced the death penalty, or when they were trying self-defense cases, particularly when it was highly racialized and there was a white person involved. Never knew. And I never knew as well that because of the legal matter that happened, my grandmother left hundreds of acres in Louisiana. And, and I remember asking her, because she was talking about how she just left the land. And I was like, well, why did you do that? And she said, well, the land is cursed. I do, you know what I'm saying? I don't understand my grandmother's pain, but I do understand what she was talking about. A lot of us with Southern roots have a story or two or three like that, in terms of people who had to flee or were forced to leave because of white domestic terrorism. It's a very real thing. In the back of my mind, I was like, but grandma, though, I got all this student debt. I don't own a house. I'm struggling. And I often think, what would have happened with all the Black folk who had, grandparents or great grandparents who own land? Where would we be financially if we were able to have that land, be able to develop ourselves financially, be able to use that land as equity to buy homes, to start businesses, all the things that white people do. I teach predominantly white students and Asian students, okay? And so their spending habits are pretty much the same as any other kid. It's the fact that they just back with a lot of money where they can have all these fiscal mishaps and it'll be okay. Because I even have had children tell me that their parents have sold whole homes and put that money aside for their college education. I don't know anybody from where I was raised remotely who was able to sell a house and just use it towards a child's education and still have several other houses in order to do it. So I'm raising this point to say is that yes, there are people who practice fiscal irresponsibilities. Yes, there are people who lose their homes. A lot of people across the racial ethnic spectrum lose their homes. But if we put into account that there has been multiple ways where we have financially been cool and we have established ourselves, and within 10 to 15 years, we've hit collectively a rock bottom. That happened after enslavement, that happened, around the recession. This is happening. So there's these waves. So we always are starting from scratch, like every 20, 25 years, every three, what'd you say?
Starting from underwater.
Yeah. So I always like to bring up that point, to the point where now I think we're so behind and we're so undereducated. And you pair that, at least it'll be like, all right, I may not have gone to college. I may have an 8th grade education. Whatever it is, but at least we have more community.
Yes.
Where people had us.
Yes.
And we don't have that anymore. Like my parents, who are in their 70s, to me was the only that a baby boomer generation, to an extent, not all baby boomers. We see that. Thank you, Ron. Were, like, to me, the only generation that I know that got as much of the package as possible. They had long-term jobs. They had good health care. They were able to retire out. They may have 1 or 2 long jobs, long-term jobs.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, there are so many things that go into this, which goes right back into the elections.
Yeah. And, and I'm going to keep repeating this throughout this podcast, throughout this broadcast. No matter who wins, we as Black folks got to continue to push our line. We got to come together and we got to utilize our leverage better not just at election time, not just get pissed at election time when they want to pander for our votes. No, like we need to push the line, and we need to hold these local civic leaders more responsible, because everything ain't the president. The local
Very true.
yeah, these local elections and the people you vote for locally, the people where you can go talk to them at city council meetings, the people you can go sit with, and the people you can complain to directly and call them and go have meetings in their office. We need to do more of that, because those are the things that will affect our communities more quickly, more succinctly, and easier for us to affect. Like, you can talk to Maxine Waters before you can talk to the president. You know what I mean? And what I will say is one thing I've my dad even said it, and a lot of Maxine has helped a lot of people in the hood. Like, she has helped a lot of people. I ain't saying she's perfect by no means, because no politician is. They're politicians. They all got the can't help it. But like, I know some people she helped pay for like their grandma's funeral. I'm a friend of mine, he had gotten into some trouble, and she helped him get into her program to get his stuff expunged and get a job as an like an electric worker, like who works on the electric poles, and he's making a great living now. Like, so, but we need more civic leaders like that we can go sit down with, connect to, and say, these are the things that we need. I worked on a campaign a couple of years ago, and I'll never forget, the campaign manager said the damnedest thing to me. He said, we've had all these people from Black Lives Matter in here. We had all these people from NAACP. And he's like, we had all these so-called Black community leaders. And he said, you and Quincy are the first guys to come in here and ask for something for y'all community. Everybody else was asking for personal favors. He was like, y'all, he said, I was in awe of y'all, because y'all wasn't asking for, everybody asking for their own CCWs, trying to get the homies out of jail. He literally, he said the Asian people came in here, they was asking for stuff for their community. He said the Latino coalition came in here, they were asking for, he said all the different Black coalitions that came in, he said they were all asking for personal favors. And he said, y'all the first ones who came in there with a list. Because we came in there with a list. Like, the only way I'll work with you is if this is part of your platform, this is part of your platform, this is part of your platform. That's the only way I'll work with you. I don't want no job. I don't want no money. I don't want no kickback. Like, no. Only way I work with you is if these are the things that you'll put on the platform of your community. So me and Kai are actually working on something too right now to kind of try to remedy that. We're working on something coming soon. We got an announcement coming soon, but we're really going to try to remedy that and really start to do more things specifically for the community. And like I said, not only during election time, because I think that's the problem. We only get engaged during election time, but the time you should be engaged is in between. That's when you should get on their nerves, is in between, because that's when they know they really got to work for your vote. Because if you say you want them to work for your vote, you want them to do things for you, you have to have specific asks. You have to send people in there to ask for what we want and what we need. Stephanie said, and we have to treat these elections just like we treat everything else that becomes a hurdle or a hindrance. Whatever it is that you have your mindset, you have to keep preparing and going and working through and working around those obstacles, because the obstacles are not going to stop. That's a great point, Stephanie. Like, I think people feel like if election goes the way you want it, you can start kicking back. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Biden won, I can kick back. If Kamala win this time, Kamala won, I can kick back. Like, no, even if Kamala win, press the line. If Trump win, press the line. And again, start going after these local civic and community leaders so we can get our communities better first. Wilbur said you got to be in LA or Washington to know directly what TT Maxine has done for little Black boys and girls. Media don't show it. We know. Problem is that if Trump wins, the next day Clarence Thomas will retire and they will flip the SCOTUS even more, which is a long-term residual impact we in our generation won't recover from. That is a good point, Ron. And I've been screaming since Hillary, the election ain't about the president, it's about the Supreme Court. But you N-words won't listen. Like, even, I'm not even going to get into policy, but the Supreme Court alone, I strongly believe that we've been in an age where it's all about what can I get done for myself. I pretend to do something for the community when I'm really underlying doing something for myself. Republicans have won control of the Senate. I knew that was coming.
Yeah,
Ooh,
we talked about that.
y'all mess around and let Trump get a trifecta.
Y'all better. I'm gonna tell you, you better find your people and find them real quick.
You in trouble.
You are in trouble. You about to see. Mm, mm, mm. I can't say what I want to say.
Say it.
No.
Make a fake Facebook profile and post it in the chat.
Bet. Shit.
There you
Project 2025 Voltron is forming right in front of our eyes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I said yesterday, I said, we going to get the president we deserve either way. Today,
Damn.
America going to get what it deserves either way. Because now, even if Kamala win, they're going to block everything she does.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, shit, I think we could do what? Another 10 minutes? Because it don't look like much is moving.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
We do like another 10 minutes. If anybody got questions or anything, we'll be on for our regular show tomorrow evening. Anyway, regular Wild Thoughts tomorrow at 7 p.m. for anybody who want to join.
Just Trump, well, that's not new. That's old. Trump won North Carolina. I thought that was breaking something new. Yeah, man. It's weird that the people that are here that said they wasn't going to vote at all and shit, man. It's just
This shit is close. Look how close Arizona is, and Arizona usually breaks Republican.
Damn, 13,000. No, yeah, 13,000.
13,000 votes. Arizona.
Reporting.
That's crazy.
And we got a homegirl out there in Arizona that goes hard. She's very well respected. I told you the Deshaun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are all super close.
How much of Pennsylvania reported? 86%.
86. But it don't look like none of these are blue yet. Philly, Allentown, like they leading.
Those are probably the biggest area municipalities too.
Yeah, Allentown, Pittsburgh, and Philly.
And Philly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Allentown, Philly, and Pittsburgh, and they haven't turned yet. This is gonna be close.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think Trump's vote among black men was so high? I don't know what the numbers are yet.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not ready to have that conversation yet. Because I ain't ready to blame black men for this. No way, Jose. I thought I was seeing darkness on a daily basis, but it's a different kind of darkness hitting the land today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. I think it's in terms of blaming black men. I think it is. Oh my goodness. How can you blame your best male player in the game?
Right.
That's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for showing up and doing a job and not talking about the other ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And them not showing up and performing. So, yeah, I just really hope that, I
don't think that's the conversation. I think there's a lot of people you need to talk to, a lot of other constituencies you need to talk about before you get to black men vote.
Right.
Because even if the vote for Trump was higher this go around, it's not going to be like, I think the Latino male vote is way higher for Trump than it was the last election.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Significant increase, about 17 points higher. won't be the overall difference, but it is something that needs to be addressed. There is a fear that power is slipping away from the man to the woman, and black men, like white men, fear this. That is a good point, and that's a conversation that I have had with multiple people. Like literally, and it was on this show. I don't remember which episode, but y'all can go back and watch it if you don't believe me. Somebody said black women already think they the shit. What's gonna happen if you let them be the president? They really gonna think they the shit. That was my train of thought. Just so y'all know where some of this shit stands.
On the shit.
That's so stupid though, man. Because
They just
it's more, nobody's doing it to black men and women, but it's a divide and conquer type of thing. You know what I'm saying? That a black man wouldn't get behind a black woman. You know what I'm saying? Just for from a unification standpoint, if for no other reason. I mean, you have to pick your loyalties and your, you know what I'm saying, your leanings and shit like that. And so if you're gonna go against your own community, you know what I'm saying?
Well, let me address this too, to what you're saying, V-Ray, about loyalties. And Joe Ben, let me address, my thoughts about your question. So one, and I've said this, and Kai will tell you this, I've been saying this for years. Democrats and Republicans have a very big problem of not speaking to black men directly when it comes time for voting. They speak very well to black women and to black women issues. They do very well messaging to them. Which is why black women are their, biggest and most loyal voting bloc. They do a great job going after moderates. They never want to look too progressive. They do a great job trying to go after white women and white men. They do. But when it comes to speaking directly to black men and to our needs, all they talk about, and to me on both sides, is criminal reform. We all ain't criminals. That's not the only topic that matters to us. They don't talk to us about being entrepreneurs. Kamala did the last 3 weeks, but Trump hasn't at all. But I'm saying, let's take them out of it. I'm talking about as a party. Democrats and Republicans do a terrible job of coming and talking to black men about what we want, what we need to do for them to earn our vote. So therefore, you have a lot of disenfranchised black men who feel like, well, the Democrats ain't talking to me, I'm just going to do something else, even if it ends up being against your own self-interest. Sometimes people just
that's the thing I'm talking about, against your own self-interest.
If you feel like I've been doing this all this time and nothing is changing for me, I might as well do something different.
Yeah, but what is the something different?
Logic.
But what is the something different? I'm gonna kill myself. No, nigga, you don't do that shit. You know what I'm saying? You find some other remedy for the shit, but you don't. I'm gonna saw off my left hand if nobody offers me a small business loan. This shit is like you cut off your nose to spite your face. Or
I get that, but like I said, if you understand, like I'm just speaking to the mind of the man who feels like they have been forgotten.
Me too.
I mean, some of this could even feel like it. It could be like a call for attention, even because you see a lot of these black dudes who be going hard for Trump. It feels like they looking for attention. That's a screwed up mindset, though, Dame. That's just like getting mad and going out and riding and tearing up your own community when you know you're the one that's going to be. Steph, I'm not saying I agree. Somebody asked my thoughts and why we are where we are, and I'm just trying to explain so y'all can understand why a lot of people started jumping the Democratic ship. Especially, look, there's combinations. There's the misogynistic sexism. We know there's those guys, like the other guy who we had on the show who literally just said, "I just don't think a woman should be president, more specifically a black woman." So we have those guys who say that. Then you have those guys who, like I was saying earlier, they feel disenfranchised because they feel like nobody's trying to connect with them. And then you have the third. These to me are the three different sectors of male Trump voters. And Kai, if you feel like I'm missing one, or V-Ray, please jump in and tell me. The third is the black man who doesn't want to dismantle oppression. It's the black man who wants to be able to have access to the oppression. Those to me are the three versions I've seen of black men who wanted to vote Republican.
I mean, there's also a fourth. I think you have the voter that is so self-hating, you know,
Yeah.
that,
Well, I
you
kind of
know,
lumped them in with the ones who said, I just don't think a black woman should be president, because I feel like that's part of the self-hate to even say that shit. You know
right.
what I mean?
Well, there's two type, right? There's a type self-hating. So you have that, and usually, I've seen those folk in the community, winner chicken dinner day. And but then you have those who are so far gone, who try to totally, I think, immerse themselves in white culture aesthetic. That they would, like a Byron, what's his name, Byron Daniels,
Uh-huh.
who went to an HBCU, then goes to a predominantly white university institute, and then just becomes this other person that tries to distance himself so much from what might be considered black anything. So I think, you know what I mean. But yeah.
MSNBC has it at 189, 246.
Oh.
That's what at 189, 246. Oh, the electoral college count?
Yeah.
Oh. That's not good.
Nope. That's not good.
That's not
189.
that's
How
not
could it
good.
be?
How she at 189 over there?
Yeah.
210 here. I don't know. That's why all this shit's tricky, Jack.
But another thing is that I like to talk about like numbers. When you're talking about statistical significance, this is the nerdish shit, like the academic in me. A statistically significant number is something that's like 50%.
Right.
Black men, the last poll that I saw went from like 86 to 78 or 77%, which is, an 8% difference. But still, those numbers were far more higher than Latino voters, Hispanic voters, Asian voters, and so on and so forth. So I think we need to be wary in how these numbers and this information is fed to us in terms of black male votership. There's a term in media where they call framing the issue. And so it's kind of like you get this snapshot of an issue, and it remains the only snapshot that you understand the issue, but there's been multiple other snapshots that have been taken about the issue at the same time, as just from a different angle. So I think we need to really kind of be wary of that, because it has really caused a lot of unnecessary, I think, division in a community where we're already deal with fractures. So I think that's really important. And as well, I'm highly critical of what happened to black men in a post Black Lives Matter movement, where you had black men who were the face, literally, and the body of Black death, and in particular Black heterosexual men. But Black heterosexual men become the bane of Black existence. I have a serious problem with that. So I think we need to really kind of think about that when we talk about what it looks like. And we still have to factor in how a lot of people are impacted from generations of poverty, the criminal justice system, all these things that go into why we vote, how we vote, if we vote at all. And this is not even me talking about my personal beliefs. This is me as a journalist and doing just a lot of stories on the ground. I was talking to brothers up and down the East Coast, and just a lot of them are just so they are just so disenchanted with the political process. And I understand, Dane, what you were talking about in terms of men not feeling like they're included. But when they are included, it's from such a pathological perspective. Like black men always got to be fucked up, or something's wrong with them in order to talk to them. So I always like to keep that in focus. I come from a black man. Now that is my personal. I come from the nuts of a black man.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is Dr. Shivers. That's why I wanted her on the show. Get that real. This ain't rolling.
This media stuff is a monster. You know what I'm saying? It's a monster.
Ooh, good question. Let me read this and I'm gonna let Kaya answer this. Could it possibly be the reason they don't personally address black male voters about their wants and needs because they're afraid what the answers might actually be? They know how much black male have been screwed over, and they don't want to hear what might actually be said because they may have to actually admit they did something wrong at some point.
Well, I think they've already asked. I think they have answers. It's just that they don't want there's no movement on it. They don't want to do nothing. We are in a culture where there's a thought that if you pay people a little bit of money here and there and mollify them, then it will be okay. But what we see with black men, it's like the level, and I'm as a black woman, trust you, and as a black woman, and Dame knows this, who has gone toe to toe with many of black men for their fuckery, all right? But what has happened to black men, it's like when cancer has metastasized and you just don't know where to address the problem. That's how I see, what the issue is. But with that being said, when you say they don't know how, why are we giving they the power to remedy us? That is, I think, not even in our DNA, giving them the power. But in my perspective, and I'm a daddy, I'm a 1,000,000% daddy's girl. I think in my perspective, one of the things that we have to do is that we have yet to really define who us is. Like, what does it mean to be, what is like black co-rulership and black power and black sustainability and all that means from our eyes, from our conditions, from our experiences, from our morals, from our spiritual selves, from our sexual selves. And until we I think really thug it out within our own spaces in a healthier way, we will forever be asking they to remedy us. And yeah. And yeah, so I was gonna ask if that was her. Hey, cutie pie, long time no see. I'm so glad you are doing. Oh, okay. I don't know who we talked to.
That's
hey, Stephanie.
That's singing ass Stephanie from Washington.
Oh, okay. I gotta see a photo. It's VP is calling it a night and won't address the results until tomorrow morning. Wow. Well,
on the East Coast, it's damn near 1 o'clock in the morning. Right? Isn't
it? Yeah. It's 10 minutes to 1 over here.
I feel like Trump probably gonna come out in 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
I won.
Boy. Boy, oh boy.
Close,
but it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get it together.
I mean, like I tell people all the time, black folks, we've been through all of the worst of it. It don't change that much for us. Mm-hmm. Either way. The problem is Trump was making others feel like niggas his last presidency. We about to call it a night too, Ron. We got about 10 minutes left. They was over at his headquarters and he was saying that he was prepping for a celebration speech to give tonight. We know the play.
They already said it publicly themselves that that's what he was going to do.
Yeah, they already told us to play. It ain't like, they're like, yeah, we're going to come out and say we did that.
Nothing
new.
Death row.
Yeah, well, but we still. I haven't looked at. I was just looking at your numbers, but
yeah.
Well,
What is this? MSNBC? They got it at. Oh, this the AP. Associated Press got it at 210, 230 too.
Uh-huh. Who has it at 189? Who was that?
it's at NBC.
Oh.
NBC. Oh, did they about to rent a House of Representatives too? Yeah.
Oh, they about to win the House too? Like I said, you remember I told you, I've been saying this. Whoa, boy. Whoa, boy.
Whoa.
If you have a Republican House, a Republican Senate, a Republican president, and you
And
about to
Supreme
have
Court.
more Republican Supreme Court, let's call this Handmaid's Tale.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, I'm out of gas, man. I think I'm fucking electioned out and shit. Like, you know, it's like watching paint dry and shit.
This was a great informative show. The possible outcomes kind of switched up the mood and energy, but still very informative.
Yeah.
Fuck around and find out. Pretty much, man. Like I said, we gonna get the America we deserve.
Oh,
Either way.
I will definitely be tuned in mañana to see.
Yeah.
I might be on my own kind of stuff trying to see what's going on, but
Yeah, if you want to hop in though, let me know.
okay.
I'll send you the link.
Yeah, I gotta. Yeah, okay. I'll let you know. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank everybody for watching. Thank everybody for joining us on a special election edition of Wild Thoughts. We'll be back with y'all tomorrow, and we'll see how we feeling tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Later.
Bye, y'all.
Stop the world, let me off. I don't like this destination. I like a transfer to the express line. I gotta get off. Electric slide into the devil doors of life. Things are changing and it ain't the way I like. On the replay, wish I could get a replay. Don't mean to hold ya, but I wanna do over. Gas up the ship, shoot me a text and